Hello, everyone. It has been a while. I think it's been more than 2 or 3 weeks that Sunila and I haven't done an episode. And I think we decided to take a break. We decided to go out and research. We decided to go out and find out different topics other than just destinations that we can talk about on Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Thank you so much for tuning in every day. And thank you so much for writing to us with newer and newer topics. We are coming to you with season 2 of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life from now on. And every week you will have something new, something from the world of travel, not only destinations, but also attractions, places, tips, tricks, and a whole lot more that both of us end up doing. At the same time, we are going to call our friends from the travel industry and have them on episodes week in, week out. So stay tuned because this is season 2. So let's get going. Sunila, it's been a while. Welcome to the show again.
Thanks, Neil. Yes, it's been a long time. And I think I missed you on a few of the last episodes, but we had some of our travel and trade partners on the show as well. So that was quite exciting. And I'm sure that we'll have so much more to talk about as we go ahead.
I absolutely loved that episode where you discussed Singapore with Renji.
Yes.
And oh, my mouth was just watering. And that was a good way towards the end of season 1. And of course, we went season 1 to we took season 1 to about 80 or 90 episodes. And that was pretty good. But without wasting any time, and because we've decided that we are going to be short, we are going to be crisp, we are going to be to the point this season.
Yes.
Let's dive into today's episode. Would you like to introduce it to the listeners?
Why not? So I think we've both been traveling and we are always traveling, right? And one of the things that often strikes you is when you're traveling from one place to the other, we're looking at the best airfares possible. We're looking at the best airlines. And a lot of times there aren't direct flights to the places we want to go to. So a lot of times we have to have a transit, what is known as we are in transit, where we are crossing over from one country to the other, and we take one flight, and then we are taking a connecting flight to our final destination. Sometimes one, sometimes even two, like there are two stopovers as well. And I think a lot of time we've had this query about what shall we do when we are in transit? What is the right thing to do? I think there can be fun things to do, and there are some really important things, or you can actually miss your flight going ahead. So I think let's just discuss this whole thing of the time in between the travel, the time in between getting from the place where we are to the place where we want to be. And that is one of the, it can be really fun. Some people dread it, that, oh God, the transit time's too long. I'm in the stopovers too long. But some people actually do enjoy it. So they ask for a longer transit time at certain airports as well. Yeah. Let's discuss transit today, Neil.
I saw myself doing that. So I have a wedding in Phuket, in Thailand in November. And I was looking at flights. And of course, there is the Indigo and Go First flight that departs Mumbai at about 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. respectively, and arrives in Phuket at 9:30. And I was just asking my wife, Heta, that we are going to have a red eye to Phuket, which means we are going for the wedding, which means on the first day, you're just going to be tired. Why not take a flight via Singapore? Because that flight arrives in Phuket at the same time, which is 9:30 or 10. But we leave at a good time. We'll be transiting out of Changi, which is one of the best airports in the world. And she agreed. She was like, oh, we'll get a good night's sleep because the seats on Singapore Airlines are something that we love. And you'll get good food, and it'll just be a good trip, and you can have breakfast in Singapore and then arrive in Thailand. So I decided to go ahead and book my flight via Singapore. So that's one of the reasons, like you said, right? That
there you have it.
Yeah.
It's not always the shortest transit time that you're looking for.
Exactly. And, direct flights are always great, but sometimes transiting from an airport gives you a chance to see another country, see another city. And that's pretty cool. I've done this before where I was on my way to Finland and I had to take a flight via Delhi. So I decided to transit, but of course I had two different airlines that I was taking. So I decided to do a long transit, managed to go get a meal in Delhi because Delhi's food scene is incredible, right? And got a meal at one of the great places over there and then hopped onto the flight. So sometimes transiting out of a place really helps. And I see myself more and more trying to increase the transit time than decrease it as we go along. So one question I'd like to ask you, when was the last time you transited at an airport, and which one was that?
Good question. It was just on my recent trip in March, actually, when I went to Marbella and Berlin, and I was actually flying Swiss Airlines. So because I was flying Swiss, I was transiting through Zurich. And that's when I come to the most important thing. The first thing I think, and we should all do whenever we transit, is as soon as we land, set our times to the local time. Set
Oh,
your
yeah.
watches, set your clocks to the local time. Because long back, we had come to a point where we said, yeah, we have a lot of time. We have 3 hours in transit. This was in Dubai. And I think it was 2013. And I said, we have a very long time. It's okay. We are still in Dubai. And we just completely forgot. We got engrossed and we forgot that the time can really fly, even on an airport like Dubai, you know. And then suddenly we were like rushing to board the flight. We were running and we said, okay, what's the time? And we realized we had not set the times. So the first thing you should do is set your clock to the local time. I know a lot of the watches anyways nowadays auto reset, but remember to take off the airplane mode and put it on, you know, make sure you have network so that you have the local time. So for me, that was really important. And Neil, you're right. I think extending transit time is not a bad idea. Because like right now when we landed there are, you know, everything's still coming back to normal in the sense that the number of people working everywhere are still not what it was, and there are some flight delays and things. So when I landed at Zurich airport, my flight was on time, but the queue for immigration was so long. And actually that brings me to the second most important point for me. So I know there are so many fun things to do, but there are also some more really important things that we should be aware of. So whenever you're transiting in Zurich or you're transiting in Europe, the immigration is usually at the first point, right? When you get down, when you're deboard and deplane, you have immigration, and only then do you go to your actual terminal where you will take a flight. What happens is we often get down and the airport lounges and the duty-free shops are so enticing that we often think that it's okay, I have a lot of time and I will then, you know, spend some time here and then cross over and go to my immigration point. But I would really recommend not doing that, because even now when I landed, there was this huge queue for the immigration, like really long lines. So I was happy that I was aware and, you know, careful enough to first cross immigration and then spend time at the duty-free shop. So whenever you land, first set your clocks, cross immigration, come to your airport terminal, and then do all the shopping or all the other fun things that you want to do. But I think these are the two most important things. And I saw that a lot of people in Zurich were facing issues. There were people who were missing flights. There were others. So the queues are really huge at immigration nowadays. Everyone's traveling, which is great news, but which also means longer queues everywhere. So
I think
that was my story.
that is top priority, right?
Yes.
You have to take your next flight. So transit is for you to take their next flight. So transit could be 45 minutes also. Transit could be like 15 hours also. Clearing out immigration and doing it is a smart way of doing it. So of course, if you have 15 hours, you don't need to like go and sit at your gate like with 14 hours left. Because sometimes that can work against you. That you might go over to the other side and there's nothing there.
Correct.
And we faced this issue at Helsinki airport where, you know, we were on a domestic flight coming into Helsinki, and then we had to board a flight to Delhi. And we landed and I got a notification on my phone that, hey, your flight's been delayed by 2 hours. So we had a good transit time of 3 hours. And we got off and there were so many stores on the domestic terminal that as we were walking towards immigration, we were like, oh, wow, imagine what the international terminal will be like. And we decided to go in and do the security clearance and the immigration. And when we went there, it was early in the morning. And we were of the impression that, oh, wow, domestic Helsinki airport had all of these things. So we'll have amazing food to eat. We'll have so much to do. And we walk into the international terminal and half of the stores are shut. 2 or 3 were under renovation. And we had maybe like 4 or 5 things to eat. Now, I'm not saying Helsinki International Terminal Airport is a bad airport. When everything's open, it's great. But it's just that we did not plan it this way. And Of course, these mistakes can be made, but then we just learn from it. So every time anyone's going to Helsinki airport, I tell them that, okay, remember that if you see something here, it's not that you'll probably get it there. So like, if you have time, you could probably pick up like some food, but you could pick up some um stuff for your family and friends and everything. So it's that same
It's
rule. Yeah.
interesting what you say, Neil, because I've found that in Europe, I often find that difference between the Euro zones and the non-Euro zones. Sometimes you
Yeah.
find more shops towards the Euro zones, like when you're coming in and there are these huge shops. And then when you cross over and suddenly there are like hardly 2-3 shops when you have crossed over and you're closer to your gate. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It makes sense. So check how long the immigration queues are. Check and make sure that you have sufficient time to cross over and then spend all the time you want. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
that's something to be done.
Yeah. Now, I have a few airports that come to my mind where, oh, transiting this airport is very nice and all of that. Now, one is, of course, Changi.
Yes.
And apart from Changi, does anything else come to your mind? Of course, we'll go through many things that you can do in transit, but any airport that comes to your mind that, okay, this is something unique that you can do at this airport?
Neil, there are many airports like that, but Dubai for me is kind of something that really comes up because mostly I do end up taking a flight to Dubai.
Yeah.
And for sheer convenience, I find Abu Dhabi is another airport that I like to transit, especially when it comes to USA. Because for the US, because of the special relation that Abu Dhabi has, you can actually complete your USA immigration on the airport itself. And that is a huge, huge, huge plus when you're traveling to the US. Because I remember going to the US about 4 years back, and we were going to LA for one of the travel shows. And after we landed in LA, Neil, I was on the airport for 3 hours, at least 3.5 hours in immigration,
Doing
just
immigration, right? Yeah.
doing immigration, biometrics, just the queues, the sheer queues, because it's such a busy airport. So just think of it that if you can finish that in, say, 15 minutes or 20 minutes on the airport in transit, that is a huge plus for me. So Abu Dhabi kind of, like you said, there isn't too much on the airport once you go there, but the sheer convenience of crossing over for America in Abu Dhabi is really good. So I enjoy that. And for shopping and other things, I think Dubai airport does
Yeah.
have quite a few things that you
So
can.
like, I'll take it on the tangent of Abu Dhabi and for listeners. So Etihad and Abu Dhabi have this special partnership with the US. So if you're traveling on Etihad Airways, going to the US, you will be doing your immigration when you're transiting in Abu Dhabi and not in the US. So when you do your immigration and go to your boarding gate for your US flight, you land into the US as a domestic passenger. So you don't have to do customs. You don't have to do immigration. So that's one of the plus points or multiple plus points that Etihad brings in if you're traveling to the US and doing it. And we've done it. It's rather easy. And kudos to the Abu Dhabi government and Etihad for actually achieving this, because it's magical. You see all of these other aircrafts where you have to do immigration for a long, long, long time. And here you just don't have to do it. Okay, so we have Dubai, we have Abu Dhabi. Now, should we spend some time like discussing Changi, because Changi has prided itself as the airport that you want to transit out of.
Not just transit. I remember, Neil, you took a flight just to the airport and back to Changi, didn't you? So Changi will always be on top of the list. But before we go there, I just want to add one more thing. Another thing to remember is that when you're in the US and if you're transiting in the US, so say you're flying into US, you come into San Francisco and then you're taking a flight to Las Vegas or Los Angeles or wherever it is, then you have to collect your baggage and deposit it again, because once you reach there, you will then go into the domestic zone. And the same is true for Australia and a lot of other places. So make sure that you do that, and you know that it's quite quick. It's just a baggage drop, but you still have to do it. So once you land into the country, you will exit. Make sure you take your baggage. Just go to the baggage drop area. And I remember I've done it 2-3 times in Australia as well, and we had really short time, but it was pretty quick. So it isn't a problem, but they will not transfer the luggage for you once it becomes domestic. So you have to do it yourself. So remember that.
Very valid point. People just forget. People think that, oh, my bag is going to come to my last destination. But sometimes it's like a self-transfer that you have to do. Now, speaking of transit, we'll come to Changi that we discussed. But I have this rule, Sunila, that if it is more than 3 hours or 4 hours, I try to go take a shower. Because when you're transiting and you're getting off a plane, invariably you have
Yes.
been either sweating or you've been super cold and like your body's dry, because the pressure at 35,000 feet or 40,000 feet is a little different, and your body reacts differently. So I really prefer taking a shower, and then it really helps me. And of course, today you have so many credit cards that give you lounge access and all of that. So I would really recommend that, because you'll just feel like a completely different person, ready for your next flight or
Yeah.
ready for the next 10 hours of your layover. But yeah, that's something that one should definitely do.
You're right, Neil. And I think another point which goes in line with that is that if you have when you know that you have a long time in transit, or you have a sufficient time in transit, then just, if you can leave one set of clothes with you in your bag, which helps two ways. In case there's some problem with your luggage, then at least you have a change of clothes ready with you. And like you said, if you shower, then you don't want to wear the same clothes again, right? So you have a good, fresh, nice pair of clothes for you, and you really feel like a new person, and you don't feel tired. Then you're ready to take on the world, you're ready to travel, you're ready to explore. So I think it's a good idea to do that. And yes, a lot of airports not just have lounges that you can use with your credit cards, with other lounge access. If you're in business, of course it's a different story, or first class, you have your own those lounges as well. But there are also some paid shower rooms on a lot of airports now. So you can actually just go and pay and
Yeah.
shower if you want to. So that facility is also possible. And I think almost everywhere in Europe, Japan, everywhere you will see that there are these shower facilities there. So that's something worth taking.
Yeah. And another thing you can do when you're transiting is also try out the local cuisine, right? So we spoke about
Yes.
Changi, and Changi has the local Singapore food street, and we have
Yeah.
spoken about that on many episodes.
Yeah.
But not only Changi, I look at it that, often if I'm transiting out of Istanbul, you can
I,
have the Turkish
yes.
food. If you're transiting out of Thailand, like if I'm going to Australia, there is a huge chance that I'll be transiting out of KL in Malaysia, or um, the Suvarnabhumi airport in Bangkok.
Mm.
And over there, you can have either Thai food or you can have the Malaysian food. And that, like, really provides a good push towards your next journey, because food on a plane, people love it, people hate it. And there are more towards the side of people hating it than people liking it. So that's why transit also gives you an opportunity to try out the local cuisine, as we've seen
Yeah.
at all of these airports, not only in Southeast Asia, but also if Far East Asia, that is Japan or Korea, or, now that Air India has ordered so many aircrafts, it seems like India is also going to be a place where people will be transiting out of,
Mm.
going either west or east. So, that also would give people from outside of India a chance to sample Indian cuisine that everyone loves around the world.
No, that's true. And you mentioned Istanbul Airport, and actually, Istanbul Airport now is renovated, and it's amazing. The trip that I took before this, I was on Turkish, and it was amazing, Neil. But it's so big. It's just really huge and vast. So you have to walk fast, and you have to make sure if you have a short transit time, because there is just so much that you can't, not just local food, but also souvenirs to shop and to bring back home. So you can buy all of Turkey in one go on the airport. And what I noticed this time was that actually there were also a lot of local shopping, clothes shops. So local brands, LCC, Waikiki, and the other things which are not very expensive and quite popular with the younger generation. They had really big, like almost like flagship stores on the airport, pretty big, good collections, and a lot of people were shopping for clothes as well. I, for one, have always loved the Zara on Changi Airport, because there's I don't know, it's quick, it's fast, and you always find something you like. So I had this question, not just there, but even the Adidas in on our Mumbai airport, the domestic terminal as well, has some amazing shops. So when I asked him, I said, I've never seen this collection in the city shops. And, he actually told me that the airport collection is different. And we know that people have less time. So we often have the best of the best, and it makes your decision faster. So we make better sales on the airport shops, which I
Oh,
thought was
wow.
quite interesting. So next time, don't give the shops a miss. If you're looking for something nice, have a look. You may end up buying a lot of things that you otherwise don't have the time. And, I think for people who travel for business also, usually it takes a lot of effort to get into the city and go shopping. Here, you just have it when you're traveling, and it's easy to pick up things. So
Yeah.
that is also something I learned, that you must not miss the shops on the airports. So
Yeah. There's
yeah,
also museums at some airports, right? If you look at
yes,
Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, or Schiphol
yeah,
Airport, as they call it,
yeah,
there's Holland Boulevard, which is like an immersive experience into Dutch culture. And that's at the airport. You don't even have to get out. So you'll have like, different Dutch
yeah,
paintings in the museum from the 17th century, and it's open 24 hours. Then there is, of course, something that you can do at Changi, that you can go watch a movie, because Terminal
yeah,
2 and Terminal 3 have movie theaters that are running 24 hours. So you can
mm,
certainly do that. Then there is a slide at Changi that you can do.
mm,
I was recently at Changi transiting to Japan, and we went to the butterfly garden and the
yeah.
sunflower garden, right?
It's quite
So
peaceful, and it just takes the stress of traveling, it disappears so
yeah,
quickly when you're out there. It's amazing.
like
Yeah,
there are two factions of people, right? One who get out of a flight and say, I want to
yeah,
go to the lounge right now. And there is this other
yeah,
faction where they are like, why do you want to go to the lounge? Just explore the airport, because at the lounge, you're going to get food, which is going to be in a buffet,
yeah.
which means that it has been catered like commercial food, right? And you
Yeah.
know how much I don't like a buffet, because you get everything, but you don't get anything hot. You don't get
Mm.
anything freshly made, unless like there are some counters over there. So I of course belong to the faction that is this other one. One thing I want to ask you: does Singapore still have that 96-hour thing where you can go out and come back?
Yes, I think they do. And it's an amazing facility, because if you're in a transit for long, you can actually go in with your passports, and they give you like a free city tour. So, if you have in the next connecting flight within 96 hours, you can actually get out into the city, go, and Singapore actually runs a free city tour. So you could go out, enjoy, and then come back again to the airport. So I think that's amazing to have a free stopover. Of course, with the way things are going now, I would suggest check before you go, but I'm sure it's still running. And it's one of the best programs to take advantage of. Dubai used to have something similar, but I don't think it is on anymore. However, it's not too difficult to have a visa. Like, say, even in Istanbul, if you have a US visa, and we had a really long stay in a few years back when I was on Istanbul airport. And with your US visa, you can just take a visa on arrival, get into the city, and come back and then fly out. So you
Yeah.
don't have to be stuck on the airport for that long if you feel like you're stuck on the airport,
Hmm.
in that sense. But Neil, we were talking of food, we were talking of other things. And I think with the way the world has evolved, wellness today is also really important. And,
Hmm.
finding some time to unwind and de-stress when you're traveling is equally important. And a lot of airports now have these massage rooms, have spa facilities. I mean, our own Mumbai airport in the business lounge gives you like that 15-minute free foot massage, which a lot of people don't know, head or shoulder foot.
Yeah.
So if you're traveling business, go early. You may have a lot of things that you can take advantage of. Plus, there are separate actual proper spas on the airports that you could go to. And another thing I found really interesting is the recent trend, or maybe not so recent, but a lot of airports have it, are yoga rooms. So you can actually go in and stretch yourself and be completely refreshed. In fact, San Francisco International Airport has a yoga room, and
Oh
they
yeah.
have some yoga programs out there. A lot of airports in the US have yoga rooms. So Chicago has one, San Francisco has one. I think Heathrow also has a yoga room. So you can go in and really relax, stretch, refresh. So I think doing some research before you travel would make a lot of sense,
About
and
the airport.
ensure that about the airport, especially for longer transits.
Of
Yeah.
course, we don't have much more time left. But one
Mhm.
thing that I missed out on, and I would really like to highlight, is
Mhm.
that transiting an airport also gives you a chance to explore a country's Netflix catalog. because every country has different shows, right? Because Netflix
Yeah.
rights, like
Yeah.
movie rights and TV show rights,
Yeah.
work like that. You can actually log into your Netflix and explore what that country has to
Yeah.
offer. And sometimes a particular title may be available in not available in your country, but it may be available in that country. So that's there. So now, Sunila, we have, of course, 2 or 3 minutes. Like, what are some closing points that you would like to highlight on when we are talking about transiting?
So Anil, you mentioned Netflix, and I would say along with Netflix, look for the free Wi-Fi's, because a lot of times we don't want to go into a roaming, or if we have not taken roaming, and you can use the free Wi-Fi's that most of the airports have. A lot of airports have airport codes, Wi-Fi codes, which are kept at different information counters or kiosks that you can just download a airport code. A lot of them are completely free. With some others, you just need to register with your local mobile number, and then you can log into the Wi-Fi network. And once we have Wi-Fi, of course, time just flies, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, then you
with
can do
Netflix,
anything you want.
social media, calling your friends, video calls. There are so many things. In fact, I think I want to close with that, because I found that when I'm on the airport in transit, I end up calling my friends all around the world, because suddenly I am alone, I am free, I have the time. So all those long calls with my childhood friends are all done on the airports, and they usually know my travel itinerary, and both of us then can talk in peace, because otherwise here we are always busy. So I find that a great way to connect with people who are also all around the world. It does give me the time to do that, so I enjoy that.
That's very much true. Where are you transiting out of next?
So next is Dubai, actually, and that will be in May when we go to the US.
Oh, nice.
But it's going to be a really long travel. So let's see. There are multiple trips within that one trip, and it's going to be quite interesting.
Oh, nice. We'd love to hear a lot about that as you come back. Perfect, Sunila. I think that was a good episode covering many things you can do in transit. But listeners, I'm sure we've missed out on many other things. So that's why we'd love to hear from you. Write to us at Neil, Neil, @veenaworld.com, or Sunila, Sunila, @veenaworld.com. We'd love to hear what you do, because when we hear from you, we can tell the 100,000 or 1 lakh tourists who are going to be traveling with Veena World all across the year. And that really helps in us becoming smart travelers together, because if the person sitting next to you is a smart traveler, you are going to have a great trip, whether you know that person or not. And that really makes sense when you're flying, when you're transiting, and when you're holidaying. So we are on an agenda to ensure that all of these tips and tricks are just universally available, so that everyone can have a great holiday. And that's what travel is, right? Like, that travel is about celebrating life. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life by Veena World. This is Neil and Sunila signing off. We'll see you the next time. And welcome to season 2. Bye-bye.
Bye.